Hello, this is Skeptical Root, coming to you from my basement office abode, recording studio, whatever you want to call it. And this is probably one of my first videos here on YouTube. I wanted to talk about a particular topic which has been driving me crazy lately, and it's driving me crazy in the semantic kind of, it's the right word I'm looking for here. I guess it's in a semantic way that people seem to get very upset, not about what they're actually advocating for, but for the degrees in which they're advocating for. And they all seem to think that they have different definitions of what they're actually talking about. And what I'm talking about here is free speech. In particular, what is free speech and how do we define free speech in terms of the law and the broadest definition of free speech that I think is the most correct definition. But I think that a lot of people don't seem to realize the fact that everybody who I hear advocating for free speech and what it is and what it isn't is essentially a censor of some kind. And I'm not saying that that's wrong. I'm saying that what they should be arguing is the semantics of how far they're willing to go, as opposed to trying to lay down, like, this is the definition of free speech. Definition of free speech is free is without cost. There is, relatively speaking, no such thing as free speech in a world with more than one person. When we can say what we want and have no cost for that speech, that is free speech. That is truly free speech. Everything beyond that involves some level of censorship of some kind. By censorship, I'm using censorship as the cost of that speech and our evaluation of whether or not that cost is worthwhile. Now, censorship is not just when someone else incurs a cost on us, because we have the right to say, in the United States, where I'm from, we have the right to say anything we want, barring threats of violence or yelling fire in a crowded theater. We can say whatever we want. We can say, Jews are dirty, or Mexicans are lazy, or white people are privileged, and broadly speaking, there's no cost from the government for saying those things. So from the government, there is no cost, but from society at large, and from other people in that society, there is an associated cost with those things, whether it's people changing their opinions of us, which is a cost, whether that affects our ability to work or have a job or gain income from something or another. That is all also a cost. So when we talk about, in America we have free speech. Well, we have free speech from government intervention, barring minor legal definitions of things that we can't say. But even in the broader society, we don't have free speech. And we're all, for the most part, okay with that. Ideally, in an ideal free speech society where we have, hit the microphone, where we have truly free speech, conversations would go something like this. We'd have person A talking and person B listening. Person A would say, I think those Jews are shifty scoundrels. And person B would say, that's very interesting. Thank you for sharing. I think that white people are evil. And person A would say, that's very interesting. Thank you for sharing. That's it. The people don't have to agree. They don't have to talk to each other. They don't have to have any kind of other interaction with each other than that. That would be a society where you can have free speech. But we don't do that. We tell person A that they're evil and they're jerks and they need to just shut the hell up and get off the internet. And person B, we tell them, well, according to certain sociological models, that's true, but not free speech. We change our opinions of people because we don't value what is actually free speech. We value ideas and non-intervention from the government. If I say something offensive to somebody, and somebody doesn't like that, they will attempt to do things like happened with Thunderfoot, where people put together a petition to get him fired from his job because they disagreed with what he said. They exaggerated claims. They made claims of exaggerated things that he had said and tried to say that this is the things that he said. And it, of course, didn't work because he is in a rather unique position with what he does where it didn't have any effect. He agreed with his employer to make a change in his working conditions so that his employer didn't have to deal with that type of stuff. But that is a cost to him saying what he says and people disagreeing with him. That's the reason I'm Skeptical Root on here and not whatever my real name is. I have something to say, and what I have to say is some people are going to like it, some people aren't going to like it. I'm going to have to pay a cost at some point for what I say, and that's always going to start first off in the comment sections below any video I make. But that is a cost. There are people going to share their opinions when they disagree, especially, and tell me how wrong I am about things. I am an advocate for free and open communication. I think we should have everybody saying, that's very interesting, now here's my opinion, but that's not how things are. There are honestly bad ideas out there. There are ideas out there that are dangerous and hurtful, not just to individuals, but to societies and to groups as well. And I think that everybody has the right to say those things, but everything that they say and everything that we say, as we being the skeptical community, we have the right to be challenged and to be able to provide support for our arguments. And it doesn't all have to be, empirical research. Logical arguments, logical conclusions based on logical thinking and rational conjecture is perfectly acceptable. I am primarily an evidentialist, but I am not so closed to the world to think that rational arguments, logical arguments, are not valid just because I don't have empirical data to back something up. I would prefer if whenever there is empirical data to back something up that we have empirical data. But looking at something like speculating on the probability of alien life existing in let's limit it to the galaxy. There are probabilistic means that we can use and some math that we can kind of try to do and figure that out, but we can't really know. We can't even come up with a good, reliable prediction of how likely that is, because we only know of one planet that has life on it, which is this one. That doesn't mean that we can't speculate. And that type of thing gets into the logical and rational. Here's the rational reason why I chose this criteria to set up these parameters to do this math, which gave me this number. That's perfectly acceptable. I can do math to show that there should be life on every single planet in, the solar system, but that's going to have to be based on irrational assumptions or irrational conclusions, and that would invalidate even the best math. So I think that's it for now. It's almost 10 minutes into this, and you've never seen me before, so... So in conclusion, we don't live in free speech societies. We do all censor, and we argue about degrees. And that's how it should be. I guess that's it. A lot of YouTubers have regular send-offs or intros or something like that. I'm a big fan of Roger Zelazny. In fact, the Chronicles of Amber series, those 10 books starring Corwin and his son Merlin, are probably... Corwin is one of my personality archetypes back in my mind. I think sometimes when certain things happen that I'm... What would Corwin do, you know? His famous send-off has always been goodbye and hello, as always.
If it doesn't